Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is all right. I'm still not 100%, but that's okay. I can talk. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to talk. Books. I haven't been reading a whole lot lately. I haven't had time for a whole lot of reading between my normal day stuff and kid stuff, but since we've last had a book talk review type thing, well, it's been a while. I've just been haven't been reading a lot. But I did read a book last week that I want to talk about because here's the thing. I'm really confused by my reaction to this book. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know, but the entire time I was reading it, I was thinking it was a 2-star. Or maybe I gave it 3 stars. No, I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. But the entire time I read it, I was thinking it was a 2-star. And that is The Ritual by Adam Nevill. I'm sure you already saw the title and stuff. And this book is a confusing mess, in my opinion, but it works in a weird way. It's really like 2 books. There's 2 halves to this book, and most people enjoy the first half and not the second half. I was opposite to that. I didn't enjoy the first half at all. It is there's a movie that I think was done in the like 2017-18 era. I need to watch it, and I'm curious to know if any of you have seen the movie, because I feel like after reading this is one of those books where the adaptation is better, and I'm pretty positive I'll be correct on that, because in this book, especially the first half, very little happens. Like, this is a short story that has been padded out to fill a book. And what I mean by that is the author, in the first half of the story, you're following these 4 characters who they're college buddies who go out on a trip to, you know, get back together after so many years, whatever. They're in their 30s now, and they go out, and a couple of them didn't prepare properly. They're planning on going on this hike. One of them gets injured. They decide to take this shortcut through this forest, and horror happens. You know, standard kind of something's in the woods, you can't see what the something is, horror, right? Some characters, you know, people die and get dragged off into the darkness and, you know, whatever. But the thing is, that's it. That's all that happens. And I would love to say that there's a lot of interpersonal relationship and character building, and there's not. There really isn't. There's some, and it holds together the pieces, the long pieces of drivel. But what there is every single thing gets described in immense detail every single time. And often it seems like copy-paste. The noise that the beast makes is like this, then it goes into this paragraph of talking about the noise the beast makes every freaking time. The color of blood. Like, there's this like just immense dump of analogy and simile and I don't know, like all of the stuff. It's just overdone. And I get it. Like, reading the second half, there's some of that. Like, he does a little bit. There are moments of that, but I feel like it's an interesting read because not knowing the mind of the author or whatever, that first half of the book is almost like psychological terror on the reader. Like, you as the reader are getting broken down. Not necessarily these 4 characters, but you as the reader are getting broken down by reading the same crap over and over again. And it just becomes tiring and exhausting. And then the second half of the book is much more... There's much more action. It's not any less confusing or weird. It's, in fact, way more confusing and weird. But it's action, and shit happens. Again, this is like a short story that's been expanded, not, you know, and I don't think in a good way. And that's why I say I think that the film adaptation would be a better representation of this story just because you could cut out all that crap. You don't need it. It's not necessary. Is it necessary? Is it some sort of necessary breakdown of the reader? Maybe. But for me, I almost stopped reading it. And from what I understand, the second half of the movie is a derivation. It's not the second half of the book. So in the second half of the book, so you go through this whole sequence where these four dudes go into the woods. It becomes dark and terrible. They get kind of stuck on a path where they can't escape easily because of underbrush and brambles. People die. Some of the characters, you know, whatever. We find, you know, Viking structures and carvings and weird stuff. They're in Norway or something. And then the second half of the book is these teenage black metal kids are trying to summon this creature, and they're like freaking drinking moonshine and talking about murdering people, and they've murdered all these people, and that's why their music is authentic, and very weird, twisted whateverness. I guess the movie is not that, but it is that. Like, it's instead of waking up in the company of these teenagers, they wake up in the company of this cult. Same kind of thing, just less weird. This is obviously, it's just weird. The other thing about it is it's very British. Adam Nevill is British, and I think that a part of my struggle with it was the amount of Britishness in the writing. I had to often just stop and try to figure out what he was saying, because characters would say little like 2 or 3 word phrases that don't make any sense to an American, and I'm like, what? This conversation is nonsense. Like, it just seemed like gibberish, and I had to go look up what some of this stuff meant. That might have been part of the problem for me. But overall, the second half of the book, I felt at least engaged, and I felt actual terror. You know, the creature stalking through the night and stealing people and whatever. You're just kind of like, okay, that's pretty much every horror movie I've ever seen. It's not really traumatic to me as a reader. The second half of the book, I felt real terror for the main character. I felt real, like, whoa, this is getting freaky. And there was definitely some scenes that were written with explicit detail that just like made me cringe, made me feel, you know, pain, which is what when I'm reading horror, that's what I expect, right? I expect those sequences. There was none of that in the first half, and so it took me a very long time to get through the first half, not nearly as long to get through the second half. Very weird book. I can't say that I recommend it, but at the same time, if it's your thing, I give it a shot, you know? I might read more Adam Nevill. This was my first book of his, but I don't know. I don't want to trudge through pages and pages of descriptive text over and over again about the same stuff, right? I don't want to hear 10 different analogies for the same thing. It's boring. It's very boring. But I'm also glad I read it. I'm also glad I made it through and enjoyed kind of the resolution of it all. I thought that it was well done. So, yeah. Have you seen the movie? Did you like the movie? Should I watch it? I think it's on Netflix, and I currently don't have Netflix. I haven't for a few years, so I don't know if I'll ever get around to watching it, but I'm curious to know if I'm correct. As I was reading this, I was thinking the entire time, this would be better as a movie, because it's just, there's nothing going on. This is a very, very small story. It's just exploded with nonsense descriptors just to make it feel book-sized. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is venerable. It's an adjective meaning an individual or institution that is respected and revered, sometimes because of achievement, intelligence, or character, but just as often as a result of being around a long time. Is the babe young? When I behold it, it seems more venerable than the oldest man. Henry David Thoreau, an American author and transcendentalist. Venerable, V-E-N-E-R-A-B-L-E. I'll say it, this person who wrote this book just has something going for Henry David Thoreau. Like, there's so many Henry David Thoreau quotes. Out of context, they don't make any sense.